What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Baseball Planet YouTube channel. First video since March, right after the lockout, ended. I'm Michael. I'm here with Mike. I'm here with the newest member of the crew, Anthony. Thank you guys for joining me. We're gonna go over the Jacob deGrom move that happened last night, trade that went down, some other moves that happened, and the winter meeting. Give a nice little preview of that. So, to start off. Jacob deGrom to the Texas Rangers, 5 years, $185 million deal. Includes a conditional 6-year option that would make the deal $222 million in total. It has a full no trade clause. This is a shocker. Me and Mike put on our free agent predictions that we had deGrom going to Texas, but as of recent, rumors came out that the Mets were kind of confident that they'll get deGrom back, but obviously that shifted. And there really wasn't any rumors. It was kind of quiet on the deGrom front up until he signed with the Rangers last night. So that was, a big shock for everybody. But yeah, deGrom to the Rangers.
So obviously, as Bubba just said, we didn't know what to expect with deGrom. We thought it was probably going to be Texas or him going back to the Mets. There was another few teams interested in him recently. The Rays apparently had a little interest, but we know they don't spend that big, even though they did just give out their biggest free agent contract the other day ever to Zach Eflin, which we'll talk about a little later. The Braves had been rumored to be interested in him, but that was kind of just a light rumor. It didn't seem like they were going to spend that much this offseason if it wasn't Dansby Swanson. So it didn't look like deGrom had a big market outside of the Mets and Rangers. But then again, as Bubba said recently, it seemed like the Rangers weren't willing to match his asking price. And obviously that wasn't true as he signed a big 5-year deal last night. 5 years is a lot for a guy that's going to be 35 years old, coming off a few injury-plagued seasons. I understand why the Mets didn't want to match that. Now they're going to be going after guys like Carlos Rodon and Justin Verlander instead to replace deGrom because they want another number 2 guy after Max Scherzer in their rotation. But deGrom got an amazing deal from the Rangers. They have some good pieces there. I don't think they'll nearly be as bad as they were last year. I think they still have a lot of stuff to do. They have a decent amount of holes still on that team, but obviously adding the best pitcher in baseball and healthy is going to help them out. So they already brought back Martin Perez. They traded for Jake Odorizzi about a month ago, so they've added to that rotation. That was their biggest weakness. Now they still have a few more holes to fill, but we'll see what the Rangers do the rest of the off season with the winter meetings coming up.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big contract. 5 years is a lot to give to a guy like that. But at the end of the day, the Rangers, they've needed a ace pitcher for years now. They finally got that with Jake. I think he's going to do just fine there if he stays healthy. That's the biggest question mark. I don't blame the Mets for not going 5. Tough. They gave him, what was it, 3 years, $120 million? Very fair offer. Yeah, it's a very fair offer. You can't really fault the Mets. Something must have happened in recent years. His heart didn't seem to be here. You know, I think a lot of it might have stemmed from that Sandy Olson press conference when he said he tore his UCL. I know Jake held the press conference on his own the next day, said that wasn't true. I think that ruffled some feathers. So we'll just see where the Mets pivot. It was a kind of a benefit for them that it happened so early in the off season. Not going to have to play the waiting game with him, and they can turn their attentions elsewhere pretty much from the get-go.
Yeah, so like these two guys said, make really good points about deGrom going to the Rangers. Like I said before, it's pretty much a shock, but I mean, I'm really happy for Jake. And for him being the best pitcher of our generation, he deserves his contract. But if it was me, the most I would go is probably 3 years, especially with the injuries, and especially I think he's like 33 right now. So, the guy went back-to-back Cy Youngs, multiple All-Star appearances. And I'm really happy for deGrom. It's gonna be fun watching him down in Texas. Wish him the best. Just hope he can stay healthy. And kind of sticking with the Mets right now. The big question is going to be how are the Mets going to be next year? And everybody's always throwing out that LOL Mets, phrase. I think it's a little silly because the fact that the Mets won 101 games this past season, sadly only won one playoff game. But they got eliminated in the wild card round by the Padres, and deGrom started the game that they won and basically won them the game, kind of. Also, deGrom made 11 starts in 2022, and only 6 games that he started, the Mets won. Only 5 of them he won. He had a win decision in it. So, going to be pretty interesting to see what the Mets do. Rumored to go after Justin Verlander right now is their main piece. Carlos Rodon they're going after, Kodai Senga, guys like Heaney, all these different guys they're going after right now. It should be very interesting to see who they look to acquire. Next, sticking with signings, Zach Eflin, like Mike talked about before, Zach Eflin to the Tampa Bay Rays, 3 years, $40 million. I love this move. I just think the Rays need some hitters. But sticking with the Eflin signing, like Mike said, biggest signing in Tampa Bay Ray history. Huge shocker, but also not at the same time, since the Rays have been known not to spend money and just kind of base their team up from potential trades and potential waiver claims. Waiver claims they turn guys that are have 9 ERAs into guys that could be top of the line bullpen guys. But back to the signing, like I said, I really like the signing for the Rays. It gives them a guy in Eflin who can either start and go into the bullpen. Like we saw with the Phillies this year, they put him into the bullpen. He came into big spots in the World Series throughout the playoffs, and he exceeded. So I really like the signing for the Rays, but something we'll get onto later possibly is, they have to get some hitters.
Yeah, with the Eflin signing, he obviously was going to have a big market. He's one of the better pitchers out there this offseason. He's an underrated guy in my opinion. I think he has like solid mid rotation potential. He's not going to give you ace kind of stuff, but he could be a solid 3 for rotation. He's from Florida, so that kind of factored into him deciding to go with the Rays. I think I heard Boston was also very in on Eflin, as well as
They had the best
a couple
offer,
other teams. Yeah. So, obviously the Florida thing took part in his decision to go there. Also, it could have been that the Rays were better and have been consistently good for the past few years. It's going to be a little bit of a hit for the Phillies as well. They're out there looking for pitching right now. They lost Eflin, they lost Syndergaard. They have a few holes in that rotation, so they're going to be looking for pitching over these next few weeks. With only having Nola and Wheeler and Suarez locked in for rotation spots currently. But I really like the signing for Tampa. I think he'll only be there 2 out of 3 years because deal was backloaded. He's getting $18 million in that final year, and we know that the Rays don't like spending that much money, so they'll probably trade him after the second year of that deal. But for the next 2 years, I think he's going to be a solid mid rotation guy for that Rays team that's going to be looking to compete in the AL East next year.
It was a solid pickup for Tampa. I mean, Eflin was always a solid starter. Then this year, playoff time, they moved him to the bullpen. He actually showed me a lot in that role. Came in some big spots, got some big outs, and I think Tampa, at the end of the day, like you mentioned, they need hitters, but they need another starting rotation to go with like last down stuff, McClanahan. So it was a nice middle of the rotation ad, back end of the rotation, or whatever they want to do with him. Move him to the bullpen if they want. Thought he got a fair offer. I understand why he would choose Tampa over Boston as well, with the proximity to his home. And Boston, they just don't seem like they're coming into the good times anytime soon. So all in all, I think that was a good signing for Tampa, showing that they want to spend some money a little bit.
Yeah, and then back to what I was talking about with the hitters, like these two mentioned too. I think one guy I had predicted going to the Rays was Jose Abreu. I think he would have been a great fit for them, but obviously he's signed with the Astros. I just think they need some hitters because if you look at their pitching staff, their rotation is very good, especially adding Eflin. Their bullpen probably the best in baseball, if not one of. They get these guys off the streets, turn them into absolute, studs in the pen. Every guy could be high leverage guys. And the thing though is the problem is they're going to be winning games, tons of games, probably 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. I mean, a win's a win, but at the same time, I like the Rays, but at the same time, I never really knew how they were so good, especially with the lack of hitting that they had in their lineup. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how they perform this year. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're back at the top of the AL East again. It's always common with them. but they're really going to. I mean, Rosarena is coming off another year. They play good, but they're going to need to, you know, get some more pieces just to solidify their lineup. Kind of give them some hitters that they can kind of rely on because they go through so many hitters and position players every year just trying to find some fits. They're rumored to be looking at Brandon Nimmo, but honestly, I don't see them getting him unless they, break the bank for them. Break the bank for them is kind of
Yeah,
considered, a move like that.
I don't see them coming anywhere close to what he's going to end up getting on the open market. A lot of talk of him getting over $100 million a year. Tampa just doesn't like doing those deals.
Rays,
And
they're just
the Rays,
they've been interesting recently. With this Eflin contract, and then last year they came out of nowhere and gave Freddie Freeman a really solid offer.
Hmm?
I think it was about 5 years, 135 for Freeman last year. So I mean, they've shown that they're willing to spend some money, unlike some of these other small market teams. But they're very smart with how they spend their money because they're not going to spend it on guys that they don't think are going to produce for them.
and the thing is too, everybody knew the Rays were going to be good, but 2020, apologies, make the World Series, a few wins away from being the Dodgers in the World Series. 60-game season, some may say a Mickey Mouse season, but at the same time, they're a good team. They went through who they go through. They went through the Astros. They went through the Yankees, and they made it to the World Series. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they become contenders again. But like Mike was talking about, I really do think they need to go out there and get a superstar hitter because he was
At the
talking about
end
how
of
Freddie
the day,
Freeman.
with their analytics, they're always going to be at the top because they play smart. They play that money ball style, but they don't have the hitters right now to get them over the hump to take that next step. And that's
Yeah,
the main thing what they need to go out and do.
and I agree. I think either through there or through the trade market, somebody they could be looking at, Brian Reynolds. We'll get it to him later. The Rays have a nice prospect pool. I think they could offer up some good prospects for Brian Reynolds, but we'll get into Reynolds later. But yeah, I mean that's about it with the Rays and the Eflin signing. But like we were talking about, I think they really need to go out there and get some hitter, whether it's through the free agent market or the trade market. Next signing, we're going to be talking about the Kyle Gibson sign with the Orioles. Um, you know, solid signing. Um, he showed with the Phillies this year that he was pretty solid, kind of reliable here and there. But I mean, for the Orioles, good move. And I guess we'll see how it works out for them.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for them. They needed pitching. It's been rumored that that's their main priority this offseason is pitching. He'll be a nice veteran at the back end of the rotation for them. They have some young guys coming up like Grayson Rodriguez, who looks like he has potential to be a top of the rotation arm. So going forward, I mean, last year the Orioles shocked the world. They went from being one of the worst teams in baseball to being pretty competitive. They're going to probably be looking to make the playoffs this year and take that next step. So adding a veteran starter at the back end of the rotation may not seem big, but I don't think they're done either. I think yesterday it was reported that they had a call with Noah Syndergaard, who would also be another back end of the rotation guy for them. I've heard that they're interested in Chris Bassett and those other guys in the free agent pool that are starters. So I think they're not done yet with starters, and I think they'll continue to add to that team to be competitive in the AL East because that's going to be a tough division next year, like it always is.
Yeah, I think obviously they need more starting pitching. That's always been their Achilles. Well, they've had a lot of Achilles heels. Last year they showed some major steps. If going to the next level, potentially making the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for one of the big four shortstops as well. I know last year I think they offered Carlos Correa a mega deal they turned down, so I had to take the 1 year deal with Minnesota to try to cash in this offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to revisit that. Maybe look at Swanson, even though I heard rumors about the Cubs today with John Heyman saying that. We'll see what they do though. They have the potential to compete. They have a lot of young talent coming through the pipeline. So they should be a fun team to watch this year like they were last.
Yeah, I agree. I think I really like watching the Orioles play because they play tough baseball. They're never an easy win, especially this year. They went on that massive winning streak. I don't know the exact number, but I remember I was at a game in Wrigley where they continued the winning streak. It was over 10 plus games. Um, and I mean, they're just a fun team to watch. Adley Rushman coming up, established himself already probably a top, 3 to 5 range catcher already. And honestly, I'm just excited to watch the Orioles play this year. I think, like they were talking about, I think they need to add one more piece to kind of get into playoff contention at least because you look at the Blue Jays, look at the Rays, look at the Yankees. I really don't see them, hopping them until they get somebody, maybe like a top shortstop, like a Turner, Correa. But um, I mean, they're like I said, they're a fun team to watch. Gunnar Henderson came up; he played pretty well. I'm pretty sure. I think Grayson Rodriguez was the guy that they definitely could have called up before. He ended up getting, had a season-ending injury, which was pretty upsetting because I was excited to watch him play this year potentially. But I mean, they could be a really solid team, and they're young. They play hard, and they're not any easy outs. We have not that many easy outs in the lineup. Um, all right, now into the trade market, trade rumors. Um, the Brewers and the Mariners swung a trade the other day. Jesse Winker and Abraham Toro to the Brewers for Colton Wong and some cash. Wong and the cash went to the Seattle Mariners. To me, at first, I really had no idea what was going on in the trade. I was kind of confused by it, but at the same time, um, the second base market is really not that deep this year for free agency. And they liked Wong and they took the chance on him. They gave up Winker and Toro for it. Do I think it's a kind of a stretch of a contract? I think so. Or not a contract, package. I like Winker. I think he's good. He had a really good year a few years ago, and he could easily get back into that shape. And if he does, it's a great trade from Milwaukee, especially getting Toro, who's pretty solid. He can play a few different positions. So that's my thoughts on this trade.
Yeah, I like the trade for both sides. I like the Mariners. They needed a second baseman or shortstop to fill in there. They were bound to get one, whether it was Wong or someone on the shortstop market like a Swanson or whoever they had interest in. But they were bound to get one of those guys. It was rumored recently that they were in on him, and the Brewers were heavily shopping him around to teams. So they obviously waited on a package they liked, and they got that in Winker and Toro. Winker is a guy who you said has a high ceiling. He had some all-star seasons with the Reds a few years ago. Looked like a superstar offensive player. The Brewers are obviously hoping that he can get back to that. Just like get Christian Yelich, and hopefully they get big offensive production from those two in the outfield next year. But the Brewers, something they've always struggled with has been their offense recently, and they haven't gotten the offensive production they needed. They already traded away Hunter Renfroe, so they need someone to replace someone there. And Colton Wong, who's not known for his bat, usually his glove, has been pretty good offensively for them. So trading him away, they need to get some offense back there. I like this trade for the Brewers because even though Colton Wong's a really nice piece, his offensive ceiling isn't as high as Winker's is. Obviously, Winker's coming off the down season, so his value's a little lower right now. It's a little bit of a risk. I believe he's a free agent after this season, so we'll see what happens. But I like the deal for them because they're getting Winker and his potential high ceiling, and Toro, who could be a good utility guy for them.
I think this is a good trade for both teams. It's kind of rare to see that nowadays. But they both fill needs. Like you mentioned, Winker is probably the best left fielder in the game. Was it 2021 season? Very good. And Toro's got some sneaky power numbers. He comes up once in a while. He can drive the ball out of the ballpark, do some stuff offensively. And Wong's a defensive wizard. He's been very good there for years. Always reliable and underrated offensive numbers. So all in all, I think that both teams filled a big need there, and I think it's gonna work out for both of them. Still work to be done, but good steps for both sides.
Yeah, so that's basically it for that trade talk. I mean, like they were saying, I do like the trade for both sides because I like Wong, I like Winker, I like Toro. Like I said before, I was kind of confused at first, but then when you kind of look at it and see what both teams kind of needed, um, I think it's just a solid deal for both sides. They're both getting players they can utilize well. I mean, I really like Seattle. These past 2 years really show me that Seattle is a really fun team to watch. Um, and their outfield stacked up. They have Kelenic, they have J Rod, they have Teoscar. and they have a bunch of they have some prospects in the minor leagues that they come up and play some outfield for them. But I mean, Winker really didn't have a fit in Seattle. I feel, especially after a down year, sort of. But yeah, and also like Mike was talking about, Milwaukee's been struggling with their offense. You look at the top of the rotation. You have Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta. Might be one of the best, if not the best, top three in baseball. Unless I'm forgetting somebody. I mean, pretty damn good. Um, then you look at their bullpen. They have Devin Williams in the bullpen to close out the games for them after they traded Hader. But I think the Brewers definitely need some more pieces. I was kind of confused when they traded Renfroe, and now they have Winker, and that's a kind of confusing thing to me. But honestly, I honestly like the trade for both sides. Um, Sticking with trade talk and rumors, Brian Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates requested a trade. As of today, I don't know when you guys are watching this, but the news came out this morning that he requested a trade. Um, I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I am. The Pirates have obviously shown in the past years that they're in a huge rebuild. Um, they gave out a contract to Carlos Santana, which I think was the biggest contract since like I don't know the 2010s. And I mean, I really don't know what direction they're going in, but they already said that they're not going to trade Reynolds, even though he wants to be traded. Should be an interesting few months because I know, before the 2022 season, there was a bunch of talk about potentially Reynolds to Miami. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of teams in the mix if, the Pirates say, all right, he's on the block.
Yeah, I completely agree there. It's very rare that in baseball we see players requesting trades. It's much more likely in other sports like basketball. We're constantly seeing players request trades, football, and sports like that. Baseball, it's very rare that you see guys request trades. Maybe you see one every couple of years or something like that, but it's not common. I the Pirates right now they're saying they're not going to trade him unless they're overwhelmed with an offer. I don't think that's true. If a player doesn't want to be there and they have a lot of value, you should probably trade them. I don't think him requesting a trade is going to ruin their leverage like most trade requests usually would, just because the outfield market is so thin this off season that he's going to have high value no matter what. And I would expect all those teams that miss out on Brandon Nimmo are 100% going to be in on Brian Reynolds because he has shown he's one of the top center fielders in this game, has multiple years of control, and he could bring a lot to a team's offense.
I really don't see him going anywhere at the moment. With the 3 years left of team control for a guy who's probably a top 10 center fielder in the league, especially on a team that already they don't draw a crowd because they're continuously in the gutter every year. You kind of want to keep some of those guys that are going to draw fans back in. So I do think that they would need to be wowed by an offer to move them, like Bubba mentioned with Miami. I think that would be a nice ad for them, like a little Pablo Lopez swap, maybe some more. They always need pitching. They have a lot of holes that they need to fill on the team. But starting pitching is kind of the nucleus of everything. So I think getting Pablo Lopez, maybe a few more prospects, I think that would help them go a long way in their rebuild. All in all, though, they have no reason to trade him right now with the team control. He wants out. They still hold all the leverage though with him not being a free agent for another 3 years. So I think it's going to take a pretty good offer to get him out of there.
Yeah, I mean, good points by both of these guys right here. As we talked about before with the Rays, I think somebody mentioned it here. I do think there would be a nice spot for Reynolds. I think he could be, top of the lineup bat for them, play some solid defense for them. And I mean, it's not like he's just a center fielder. He played left, pretty sure he could play some right. Um, but overall, I think no matter what team gets him, they're gonna have to give up some solid players for him, prospects, major league talent, major league ready guys. But at the same time, he's gonna give them an automatic jump to their lineup. Um, Teams I could see potentially going after them: Marlins, Rays, Yankees, Red Sox, potentially the Mets if they lose out on Nimmo because they'll have a gap in center field or right field depending on what they want to do with Marte with the Mets if they want to move him back over to center. But they're another team that's going to definitely be in the outfield market. So just something to keep your eyes on. like AD was saying, I really don't think they're going to trade him right now. But you have a nice little crew of Cruz, Hayes, and Reynolds right now. So kind of want to keep that together for a little bit, see if they could win some ball games. If not, probably sell team or it's sell time for the team. Um, Next thing I wanted to talk about was the winter meetings, my little winter meetings preview. Winter meetings are starting up tomorrow. Um, it should be very interesting with a bunch of rumors going around that Aaron Judge, guys like Judge, Verlander, Rodon, could be signing at the winter meetings as soon as, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So it should be a very interesting time. You look at the Dodgers, I think Dodgers probably the front runner for Verlander right now. The Mets are a team that want Verlander pretty bad right now, especially after losing deGrom. Rodon, Yankees, I think, are, Yankees have Rodon as their main target. So it should be a very interesting week, especially with the Rule 5. A lot of interesting guys usually come out of the Rule 5. So, should be an interesting week.
Mike, you're on mute.
Piggybacking off of that, we have a few fan questions that we got.
Oh, okay. Our first question we got is Wilson Contreras coming to the Cardinals? No idea. And this question is by Mene Sperry. Apologies if I said that wrong. But honestly, it could be a very good fit for Contreras. I think they're probably, one of the main targets for him. But at the same time, he's going from the Cubs to the Cardinals. Big rivalry between those two, so it's like in division also. I don't know what you guys think about this, but I projected him. I predicted Contreras to go to the Astros, but Cardinals are definitely a really good fit for Contreras.
Yeah, I agree. The Cardinals are probably one of his top suitors. They're definitely gonna add a catcher. They've made that very clear that they're gonna get someone. I don't know if it's gonna be Contreras or they can look to the trade market at guys like Sean Murphy, who's obviously available from the A's. The Blue Jays are probably gonna trade one of their catchers because they have three solid ones with Moreno, Kirk, and Jansen. So one of those three probably gets moved. And there's some other catchers out there on the free agent market and trade market that they can look to. But I think Wilson Contreras is a good fit with the Cardinals. And I think there's a good chance that we could see it happen.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty close to Chicago. Obviously, the rivalry's there, but if the money's there, the fit is definitely there, and it's not that much of big of a move for him. I can see him going there. There's a lot of teams that need catchers, obviously. So it's hard to predict where these guys would land, especially with Houston's interest. But I think the Cardinals is definitely a realistic option.
The next question we got from Danny Boy _18. Thank you guys for the questions, by the way. We only got a few, but at this point, we want to thank you guys for the question. He has, where's JV go? So he's after Justin Verlander. Everyone really, knows the JV nickname. I think he goes to the Mets just because I think, Cohen and the Mets are going to fully focus on either Verlander or Rodon. And I think they're going to end up with either one of them, but I honestly think they like Verlander more. Also because of the fact that today I was looking, Rodon does have the qualifying offer. I'm pretty sure he's off the QO. So that means they have potential draft compensation, taken away from the team if whoever signs him. So I could definitely see the Mets getting them. Also, I can see the Dodgers getting them, but my prediction right now is for the Mets.
As of right now, I'll say Justin Verlander will be a Dodger. However, following this Jacob deGrom news coming out yesterday that he went to the Rangers, I think it ends up being between the Mets and the Dodgers. The Astros don't seem to be as in. They don't necessarily need him as much as the other two. They have great pitching as is, so I don't think they're desperate to bring him back. But I think it ends up being between the Mets and the Dodgers. As of right now, I would say the Dodgers because they've been the most in on him. They've had interest in him for years, but the Mets are obviously going to pivot to him now with deGrom gone, so they could be increase their interest level. So I could see either one getting him, but I'll go with the Dodgers for now.
I'm going to say the Mets. I think that the urgency to add a starter of the caliber of like Justin Verlander increased big time yesterday. And I know the Dodgers have been most rumored to be heavily interested in him with the front as being named the front runner. But the Mets have had a number of Zoom. They showed interest last year as well. I know. I think a few sources actually said that the Mets were thinking about deciding on going towards Verlander over deGrom. So I'm gonna have to say I think he's gonna go to the Mets. I think that it's gonna be a bidding war eventually, but I think that Steve Cohen can outbid the Dodgers, even though they always have a willingness to spend as well.
Yeah, so great points by these guys. I'm pretty sure that's it for the questions. Mike, do we have any more, or is that it that you saw?
Let me check. I believe that is it.
All right, thank you guys
Yeah,
for questions.
that is it.
That's it. All right, thank you to the two people that sent us questions. This guy's giggling over here. But we definitely appreciate the support. I think there's really nothing more to talk about at this point. So I think we're gonna wrap it up on the point of talking, but just to address them, really do appreciate the support that you guys give us on our account. Over 4,000 followers in just over a year having this account. Endless support with comments, likes. You guys message us saying you really like our account, so it doesn't go unseen, unappreciated. So also adding this guy in the bottom corner, Anthony DeCoco to the crew. Glad to add him. Good friend of me and Mike's. Big article guy too. So soon see some articles, hopefully pumping out on the website. Also, what I want to go over is also on the website, you can see this shirt, you can see the hat Mike's wearing, also what I'm wearing. The Baseball Planet merch on our website. Go check it out. Get some shirt, get some hat. Rep the crew. I think we're gonna try to do some giveaways too, either before the season, during the season, whatever, during the off season. Still, if you send us a picture of you purchasing a hat or a shirt, whatever we got over there on the website, get entered into a giveaway right away. Could be some memorabilia, could be some tickets potential, but I mean, like I said again, thank you guys for supporting our. I'm sorry, thank you guys for supporting our account, and yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. So, I think that's all we're going to talk about. If you guys want to add anything else, that's about it for me.
That's it. Thanks for watching, everyone.